Welcome to section 11.1 Systems of Linear Equation. So for system, we're going to focus on the substitution part, and later on we're going to focus on the elimination. Now in substitution, it basically means that you're going to substitute or plug one equation into the other. So let's take a look at the first example, and then you'll see what I mean by plugging one equation into the other. So we have negative 2x minus 5y equals negative 13. And our second equation is y equals 3x minus 11. So what's great about this example is that one your equation, you have a variable that's isolated by itself with a coefficient of invisible 1. So when that happens, then that means that this equation, 3x minus 11, the expression will be plugged into the y of the other equation. So the second equation will go into the first. Now, just because I said that the second goes into the first does not mean that that's always the order. Sometimes the first equation can go into the second. So it depends on what equation you have and depends on how you set up your equation. Based on the setup of this example, the second equation, again, has the variable y isolated or by itself. So that means I'm going to plug in the second equation into the first, specifically into the y. So everything else will stay the same. They're not going to move. They're not going to change whatsoever. So negative 2x minus 5. And then the only thing that's going to be changed is the y. So instead of y, I'm going to plug in 3x minus 11. Equal negative 13. So in the first equation, negative 2x stay the same, minus 5 stay the same. The only thing different is the y, which will switch out with 3x minus 11, and then equal negative 13 stay the same. Alright, from there, I'm going to distribute my minus 5, which is the negative 5. So everything else will stay the same, meaning negative 2x, and the equal negative 13. Here, negative 5 times 3x will be minus 15x. Negative 5 times negative 11 will be plus 55, equal negative 13. Alright, what I'm going to do is combine my x, so it's going to be negative 17x plus 55 equal to negative 13. From there, I'm going to subtract 55 to cancel it out. Subtract 55 on both sides. So that way I can get negative 17x by itself equal negative 13 minus 55 will be negative 68. Now, the one great thing about substitution is that when I plug in one equation into the other, it enables me to solve for one variable. If you only have one equation with two variables, it will be impossible to solve for each of the variables. So that's why when we're doing system, make sure that if you have two variables, you have two equations. If you have three variables, make sure you have three equations. So again, substitution helped me get it down to one variable, in this case the x, and we're going to be able to solve for it. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 17. So I'm going to have x equal, and I'm dividing negative 68 by negative 17. That's going to be positive 4. So x equals 4. But I'm not finished. Now we need to solve for y. So luckily in this example, we can use the second equation because the y is by itself, and that's what we're looking for. But if you choose to use the first equation, it's still okay. It's still going to give you the same answer for y, because what answer we get has to work for both equations. But if you want to make your job easier, then I would recommend the second equation where the y is by itself, since I am looking for y. So x is 4, I'm going to plug 4 into x, so it's going to be y equal 3 times 4 minus 11. So it's going to be y equal 12 minus 11. So y is 1. So I'm going to write y equals to 1. Now, how do you know that your answer is correct? Well, if I plug in 4 for x and 1 for y, the second equation, it will be true. Let's try out the second equation. So I'm going to have negative 2x minus 5y equal to negative 13. So I'm going to plug in 4 for x and then 1 for y. So negative 2 times 4 minus 5 times 1 equal to negative 13. Negative 2 times 4, that's negative 8. Negative 5 times 1, that's going to be negative 5 or minus 5 equal to negative 13. Negative 5 minus negative 8 minus 5 will be negative 13. So the left side will equal to the right side, so that's true. So this is our answer, our final answer, and it works for both systems. So when you're checking your solution, you have to plug in both equations to make sure it's correct. Here, I didn't plug in the second because you could see by the work here that these 2 points will work for the second. And then I plug in the first to check if it's true, or my final values for x and y are correct.